Hercules was the most muscular man alive with a mighty heart to match. Orpheus was a charmer of nature and a master of music. Castor and Pollux, the twin tricksters, hatched from an egg. The Boreads, sons of the north wind, who could hurtle through the air. These heroes had roamed ancient Greece for untold times, creating new legends wherever they went. However, none of their adventures were as great as when they joined forces for the sake of a young man named Jason. Years before, Jason's uncle Peleus had ruthlessly usurped the throne of Thessaly from Jason's grandfather. When Jason returned to his father's stolen court, the cowardly king set him a seemingly impossible task: cross the teeming seas to 𝐂𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐭 and steal the golden fleece of a flying ram under King 𝐂𝐴𝐧's nose. If Jason retrieved the fleece, Peleus promised to relinquish the throne. Touched by his heroic mission, the gods spread Jason's call for help, and soon he had assembled a not-so-motley crew. These heroes, alongside countless sailors, soothsayers, and rebel demigods, named themselves the Argonauts after their sturdy ship. But the path ahead was marked with untold terrors, enough to test even the fiercest heroes. Their first stop was Lemnos, an isle of women who had killed all the island's men. As punishment, Aphrodite had cursed them with a sickening stench, but that didn't stop Jason from fathering twins with the queen. The rest of the crew also found themselves embroiled in new romances until Hercules chastised them for not behaving like heroes. Eventually they sailed to the Mount of Bears, an island where a group of ancient six-armed monsters lived alongside the peaceful Doliones. While the clan welcomed the Argonauts with open arms, the monsters surged from the mountains and hurled rocks at the docked ship. Hercules held them off single-handedly before his comrades joined the fray. Bolstered by their victory, the triumphant heroes sailed onward, only to be blown back to the island several stormy nights later. In the storm, the Doliones thought these new arrivals were invaders. The Argonauts were similarly unaware of their surroundings and fought blunderingly in the dark, slaying wave after wave of foe. But the morning light revealed a horrible truth. Their victims were none other than their previous hosts. Yet again, Jason had allowed the crew to be distracted, this time at a terrible cost. Ashamed at his conduct, he resolved to focus only on the fleece, but even this haste proved ruinous. When a water nymph abducted Hercules' squire, Jason sailed on, oblivious to the absence of his most potent crewmate. The remaining Argonauts continued their quest until stopping at the sight of an older man surrounded by a swirl of harpies. This was Phineus, a seer cursed by Zeus to endure old age, blindness, and endless torture for giving away his prophecies. Moved by his plight, the wind-winders set upon the flock, giving Phineus a brief respite from his punishment. In return, the seer told them how to overcome the terrifying trial ahead. The 𝐂𝐴𝐧𝐭𝐴, a pair of clashing rocks that reduce ships to splinters. But first, the Argonauts would have to maneuver past the mouth of hell, around the island of the bloodthirsty Amazons, and under psychedelic skies. These adventures cost the crew both men and morale. Some feared they might lose their minds. Upon reaching the clashing rocks, the exhausted crew quaked with fear. But Phineus's advice rang in their heads. The Argonauts released a single dove and sped through in its wake to emerge unscathed. With this narrow escape, the Argonauts finally had 𝐂𝐭𝐴𝐧𝐭 in their sights. Yet, while Jason rested and celebrated with his crew, he could feel his time among them was drawing close. As the fleece gleamed in his mind, he knew he would have to retrieve it alone. But he could not guess that this final task would have the most horrible price.